for that issue. But I just wanted to encourage the assessment of that. Maintain Route 358, or how is the express route all on Aurora. Thank you very much for your ear.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe the staff person for the on Aurora can probably answer that question for you. Yes, hello.
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm the manager of Seattle Laptop. I want to let you know what it's like to operate a business with no parking on Aurora. I've had 5 or 6 complaints to the police about the neighbors vandalizing our customers, our employees' vehicles for parking in front of their houses. I'm sure after the plan of making bus lanes and removing the parking goes through, that everybody that wants to own and operate a business on Aurora is their customers are going to have to find parking, their employees are going to have to find parking. The neighbors on my street are very upset that when they come home, they can't park in front of their house. They are not going to take the stuff out of their garage so they can put their cars in there. Everybody on my street, as far as I know, about 15 neighbors signed a thing asking us not to park in front of their house. Well, since there's no parking in front of our business because it's a bus zone, our customers park in the 2-hour limit on both sides of our store. But our employees have to park on the public street. And our vehicles are getting vandalized. There's been 5 noted things with the police about neighbors vandalizing our vehicles for parking in front of their house. So if the option of removing the parking from Aurora is you're going to park on the public streets, that's not a good option, because the people will, they want to park in front of their house. They think it's their street. They own it. They bought the house. The other thing is, as someone that uses Aurora daily, my personal recommendation is leave everything the way it is and get rid of the bus lane from 105th North. Would do the most to serve the community. Taking 3 lanes of traffic, cutting it down to 2 lanes in a bus zone is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Thank you very much.
Did you give an address on this business?
I did not. It's Seattle Laptop, though, is the business.
Where is it located?
What street is? How much? What?
76th and Aurora.
76th and Aurora. Okay, thank you.
And you can look up my stuff in the police. They have all the complaints.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
In this last week, several people in Metro came to me and said that almost 2 decades ago, they had told Metro about running almost empty buses. In fact, it got so bad that one of these people said, "Why don't I just go home and you send the next bus later?" The response to these people was, "You just clock the mileage on the buses." Translation: federal subsidies. You built a bus system on not paying for itself and using the taxpayers' money to do so. You need to revamp the whole thing because the taxpayers are tired of doing it and they're pulling out the money. And you may have the money right now, but you're not going to keep having the money because the people plan to pull you down. I'm not willing to pay taxes when seniors can't even ride the bus for free, or the old, the poor, the children, and the disabled get free transportation before all of you do. That's what the taxes are to be used for. Now, if you want public support, you start looking at how sick the system is and start doing something about fixing it.
Thank you, Ms. DeVita. Any other public comment?
Hi, I'm Tom Graff. I'm a board member of the Belltown Business Association, and I'm speaking on behalf of getting more parking meters installed downtown in an easier fashion. We have been working for the last 2 years to get parking meters installed west of First Avenue. This is in Belltown neighborhood, which is in the downtown zone. And C-Trans has this policy that we're not going to install parking meters unless every property owner on that block agrees to have them installed. And so we've gone through this horrendous petitioning process, as far as I'm concerned. And with lots of interns' help, we got like half of the meters installed between First and Alaskan Way that need to be installed. This directly affects the ability of ground floor businesses to operate in Belltown because they need turnover of street traffic, street parking traffic, and what happens is commuters park there all day long. Parking meters, attendants generally will not waste time on 2-hour or 4-hour, or in fact, we have some 24-hour unlimited parking in Belltown. This is unbelievable to me that the city, who's in desperate needs of financing and has the parking meters available to install, the community endorse installing these parking meters as part of the Belltown plan. It's certainly part of our vision of downtown that you don't let commuters spend all day on the street. And we cannot get these meters installed because we don't have every friggin' owner on that block there to sign the petition. LA Bay Plaza is owned by a REIT in Hawaii or Ohio by the Teachers Fund. I mean, good luck getting that petition signed. They have a full block in this neighborhood. We need to just go ahead and install the parking meters in appropriate locations where the community endorses and it's part of a grander vision. And the Center City, of course, is a neighborhood we'd look at this, and Belltown, South Lake Union, Uptown, part of the International District, where it's appropriate, install them and get C-Trans empowered to do this. I beg you.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask
Joined by Councilmember Heidi Wills.
the chair to clarify the council's position on this issue, because we are fully in support of moving forward on installing more parking meters in your neighborhood. Could you clarify?
We have taken that position, and we've also endorsed the recommendations of the Belltown Neighborhood Plan, which called for the extension of parking meters. Yes.
So the holdup?
And so that's what we're going to be hearing about today, is what are the plans for Seattle Transportation to move forward. That's why we're here.
Great.
Let's go get some meters. We'll put them in.
All right, we could do that at the end of the meeting. Okay. Seeing no other hands, thank you all very much for your public
There's
comment.
one.
I'm sorry, there's one other person here. Yes, please come. Uh-huh.
Hi, I'm a business owner on the Aurora, 90th,
Could
and
you give your name for the record, please?
Donna Hartshorn.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And this is just a comment on the parking that is going to be taken away for bus-only lane in that area there. And business is tenuous as it is right now, and if parking is eliminated on that northern corridor, then we just simply won't be in business. And we pay a lot of taxes. So that's going to be a revenue that's just going to dry up. So that's really all I have to say right now.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we will now move to agenda item number 3, which is clerk file 304924, petition of King County Metro Transit to vacate portion of South Atlantic Street from the east margin of 6th Avenue South easterly to vacated South Atlantic Street, as established in Vacation Ordinance 113655, located in the general vicinity bordered by South Massachusetts Street, 6th Avenue South, Royal Brom Way, and Airport Way South. And was that a motion?
That was a motion to approve.
All right. Do we need introductions first?
If I can get a second, we can have a discussion.
Beverly Barnett from Seattle Department of Transportation.
Bob Eisler, King County Metro.
And Victor Obeso, King County Metro.
Thank you all for being here. I think we do have a motion and a second to approve. I don't remember any questions outstanding from last time, but
I
there
did
were.
have some questions with regard to the design elements
Okay.
that would include the lead standard.
Okay.
Remember, you were going to bring the elements with
Yes.
you to this meeting.
We had prepared a letter
Okay.
for the consul
Oh,
as a
great.
follow-up to
Okay.
that question
Great.
regarding LEEDS. King County Metro is fully committed to the LEEDS program. We are early in the design phase. We have identified a number of candidate elements that can be applied to the maintenance facilities. And we are going to be, whenever possible, seeking the maximum degree of LEEDS certification
Okay.
on each of the buildings to the extent that they're relevant either as a remodeled, expanded, or new facility. Okay?
Great.
We've identified in the letter some of the candidate items that we believe will be able to be incorporated. The first two construction contracts that we have prepared and advertised include a number of elements of those things that we've listed.
I would like to recommend the introduction of cement substitutes. I know you'll be utilizing a substantial amount of cement in this structure. It's much less expensive, and it helps create jobs in our community. by supporting cement providers here that are providing that product. We're utilizing it in City Hall, for example, so I would strongly encourage that as a design element.
We will certainly be considering that. We are familiar with the use of pozzolan materials and other cement substitutes.
Great.
We see many benefits to it, including helping us in incorporating the full concepts of LEEDs. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. And can I have this letter, Sister May? Great. Thank you.
Deb, did you?
Yeah, at the last committee meeting, Councilmember McIver had asked a question about the relocation of utilities. And since Metro was a transit agency, whether we should be requiring Metro to provide for the cost of relocating utilities. I did have a chance to sit down and talk with the law department about the city's practices and policies so that we'd be consistent with what we've done in other areas. And what we would do is make a decision.
Over here then, so if we've got 8,700 metered spaces, let's assume that you were able to replace 2/3 of them roughly with the pay stations ultimately. So that'd be 6,000 pay stations. So that would allow you to eliminate the 4,000 mechanical meters and still have 2,000 more to redeploy to additional spaces. So I don't know if you've got 2,000 additional spaces, and I guess that's really the other part of the question is where you can identify the spaces that you might actually want to meter.
They could also use them for backup for repairing, maintenance on existing.
That's correct.
Some spares.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask a couple
And
questions.
we do maintain them right up to the minute timing, don't we?
Absolutely.
I knew you would say that.
No question. Let me ask a couple questions about South Downtown and South Lake Union. First of all, on South Downtown, on First Avenue South, on the stadium side, there are meters, and on the non-stadium side, there are not meters on some of those blocks. So that seems to me like, I'm just wondering if it makes sense to have a block right across the street from the stadium or kitty corner to the stadium without meters, even though you may have places around the neighborhood to park. I have a hunch that that's a place where you might want to have some turnover. Another place that I'm thinking about is under the viaduct, where you have a lot of long-term parking there that's on city right-of-way. And that's a place where it seems to me like you might want to be thinking about meters. And I don't know, we're the property owner there, so it seems to me like if we wanted to actually install meters, we could get a petition from the property owner.
Are we?
I think we are the property owner under the viaduct, so we could actually petition ourselves. The other question I have, and I don't know if you can respond to these questions at this point, but if you can, that'd be great, is about West Lake Union, where we're doing the improvements to an area that is not currently metered, and it's going to have basically brand-new pavement in city right-of-way with a lot of opportunities for getting some parking metering in there. And much of that is business and retail, and there probably is some opportunities for turnover there, and I'm wondering if you're considering that. So if you can respond to any of those questions, that'd be great, and if not, I'd like to have you come back and talk about it.
Let me start in reverse. The Westlake area,
Project along with-
that's probably a good logical place for the pay and display or pay machine technology. It would be certainly more aesthetically pleasing by far, and you wouldn't have to go to all the installation problems there, and you get more bang for your buck as far as the number of spaces for one machine. So that would be ideal there, actually. As far as the First Avenue South, across from the stadium, I guess it would just depend on what the business, the type of businesses that are there and what turnover rate that they would really need. But certainly we can look at that to see if that would be an appropriate area. When you drive down First Avenue in the time-limited areas themselves even, they're sometimes 25% full, so there's not a lot of turnover need there. So whether or not it would be feasible or practical to put meters in those spaces, it's uncertain. I don't know the other question.
Under the viaduct.
Under the viaduct, that's a possibility. That's another area where the need is more long-term. And, to have the kind of machines that we can extend the time limit in, that would be an ideal location for that.
Why is it long-term, Bill? Just because people want to park there for the day?
Yeah, I think you got a lot of waterfront employee kinds of parking in that area for the docks.
I mean,
Certainly-
I guess my question was, do we want long-term parking there? And
Well-
if we don't, what would happen if we put 2-hour parking?
Certainly, long-term is, kind of conflicts with the direction we want to go to get people out of cars. No question about that. But I think the waterfront is kind of a unique animal in that certainly during the months of May through September, you get a lot more tourist activity. 2 hours isn't enough down there for them to do generally what it is that they would want to do. So I would venture to say that maybe we want to look at maybe a 3-hour time limit down there as opposed to 2, or possibly a 4, something that would encourage use for the local businesses and needs, but maybe not encourage use for all-day commuter-type parking.
Gosh, you're going to have a monorail, you're going to have a light rail, you're going to have commuter train, you're going to have
Right.
trolleys, you're going to have the transit system down there. You don't need to drive down there.
That's one of
Take
the
the
reasons
brake
why we only have 2-hour right now. We've always frowned away from having any longer than that.
And Billy, if I could just add one thing, we have to remember that the viaduct is a fairly long facility, and so different zones, if you will, within the viaduct have different parking characteristics. The further south you go, the more
Right.
long-term parking it resembles.
Okay. I had one other thing that I thought we ought to do, and that is to make a recommendation on the option for the installation. But if there are other questions, maybe we should do that first.
Well, I guess I want to get to that also
Yeah.
by saying that, just reading through this and seeing that the 4 neighborhoods that you've identified for the potential for parking meters meet the objectives that we have set in place, and that part of the main criteria is for business turnover, so that parking spaces are utilized for people who intent on doing business in the community rather than for employees or commuters that are taking up spaces that are meant for customers. So seeing that we have 500 fewer meters today than we did in the early 90s, I think we really need to get moving quickly on the installation of these meters because it will help spur additional economic activity in these key areas that have already been identified through your processes. And looking at the 4 areas of First Hill, Uptown, Denny Regrade, Belltown, and Pike Pine, all of them are in urban centers. All of them have high on-street parking utilization. All of them have paid off-street parking available. And many of them have business interests expressing the need for parking meters to be installed in these communities, including Uptown and the Pike Pine neighborhood, where the Pike Pine neighborhood also has recommended the installation of parking meters in their neighborhood plans. So it's been years and years of process and these communities asking the city for parking meters. So I think that to delay it with any further processes, I think is a disadvantage to these areas that have already indicated that they would welcome parking meters to spur additional economic activity. So I would hone in on option 1, and let's get busy with putting the parking meters in these neighborhoods who have requested them.
Councilmember McIver, do you have any thoughts on the option for?
Well, prior to going to the option, I guess I have some questions because
Sure.
these new meters or pay stations obviously don't have any flaws.
The pay stations? We actually have a number of decisions we'll need to make about them. There are 2 main technologies, the pay and display where you have to get a receipt and walk back to your car and place it. And then there's one called pay by space where we actually would number the stalls in the street and you key in that number. Some of the primary distinguishing characteristics are some of the customers tend not to like the pay and display option where you have to make another trip back to your car. Portland has tried to address that issue by adding 2 more minutes to the time you purchase to allow for that little bit of travel time. It also presents some enforcement difficulties right now. It's to actually go through and look at the information on a sticker on a windshield or a window would probably mean the parking enforcement officers would not be able to enforce from their scooters as they do today. On the other hand, the revenue potential from pay and display is greater than with pay by space because you can't piggyback on when somebody drives away, the parking validation's gone, and so you can't get that revenue increment.
What are the technologies? I mean, are we talking about digital here, mechanical, or somewhere in between?
They're all categorized. They rely on wireless two-way communications to send a message back to servers about when they're going to need maintenance, when they're offline, when their cache box is open. They have some modular components that go in and out.
And what's the anticipated life of one of these?
That's a good question. We haven't gotten that far yet in our research and evaluation.
I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out is the investment worth the return on the investment? If it would seem that you'd have a less maintenance than you do on your individual meters. I'm wondering if you have a two-way wireless communication, if you could also handle enforcement through wireless communication. I mean, if you can read a water meter or electric meter from someplace else, I'm wondering if this technology would allow you to stand in the middle of the block and read that.
Yeah. The pay-by space, some of the vendors do have a lighted display where the parking enforcement officer could pull up and on the back of it read, where where the payment has expired and focus their efforts on those locations. And the downside of those technologies is most of those vendors have not been as progressive in developing the wireless communication technologies that enable us to, have just-in-time revenue collections or have those financial and auditing tools that we get routinely off some of the other systems. So there are advantages and disadvantages of both technologies, and we need to investigate them further and see what the impacts are.
But I presume you feel that at this point, that is a better technology than our current technology?
Yes.
Or our current
Because
technology?
they have both dramatic revenue and management benefits. I mean, we can look at metering long-term parking where we can't now. We can look at increasing parking rates where we can't now. We can look at extending meter hours, which are difficult for us now with the current equipment.
Okay.
If I could make a comment to Councilmember Wills, we've in the last couple of years had community meetings in, how many? A dozen?
Yeah.
A dozen communities, and while there could be a handful of people who support meters, nobody's knocking down my door to get meters in their community. Trust me. The few, we deal with, you're hearing from the few, we deal with the many. And there's, no one can underestimate the ill will of a parking meter that doesn't perform.
Just go right up to Capitol Hill in the historic district there, Bill, and talk about the RPZ.
Right. Okay. So I think that's important to understand that there are people who really have needs and requests for meters, but it also does raise a lot of controversy in neighborhoods.
Which takes me to option 2.
And that's where I was actually going as well. I think option 2 gives us the time to actually go out and talk to the communities and get some feedback and give them an opportunity to tell us what they want. But it also is faster than the traditional petition process, which I think does have some unworkable elements to it. And so I'd like to suggest that we go with option 2 as the way in which we proceed.
I'm outvoted.
All right. So unless there's any other questions, I'm going to stop it at this point and say that that's the recommendation of this committee, that you go ahead with option 2 and bring us forward anything that you need to take care of that. We thank you very much for...
Can we ask one more question?
Oh, sure.
It's sort of related, Mary Catherine. Are you still doing the parking studies in the business districts in general?
Well, our group is. We have another staff person in our parking group who's doing that work.
Okay, so you're still...
That's continuing.
What neighborhoods have you gotten through to now?
Oh, right now, well, there was a meeting this morning with Pioneer Square looking at a parking validation program for them. We're participating in the Chinatown International District Transportation Parking Committee.
Did you ever get to West Seattle?
No, and
Wasn't that supposed to be the next spot you were supposed to go?
Well, staff had already worked, and you mean the Admiral neighborhood? Yeah, staff had already worked with them.
Okay, so that has been done.
Yes,
Okay.
that
And they'll be
is-
We are
revisited.
preparing an update for you, the status of the neighborhoods that we're working with and those that will be coming to next, so
Good.
we'll be getting that to you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a tangential question, too. Some constituents have called in about the fact that there are hooded meters near where we have had walled-off sections of buildings due to the earthquake, and those landowners have failed to make improvements in those buildings, so those parking meters remain hooded. Is there any effort to work with DCLU to propel those property owners to move more quickly?
Put a lien against the property for every hour that's not paid.
Because there are currently parking meters that are being underutilized in areas where there's a demand for that parking.
You're speaking specifically about Pioneer Square?
Yes.
There's some issues about support down there that as far as the weight of the vehicles up against the curb. So the issues are extremely costly for the property owners to address. I'm not sure where that's going down there, but we can check it out further.
Thank you.
And we as the council will continue to be your eyes and ears and looking for opportunities to put more parking meters in.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you all very much for the work that you're putting in on this, and I very much appreciate the fact that you're moving forward with the pay station technology on a rapid schedule, and I'm looking forward to hearing details about that. We'll ask you to come back, I think, in about a month, where you'll be giving us an update and give us any legislation that we need.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Billy, I miss you in the park on the 12th floor.
It's not the same without me.
Okay, the last item on our agenda is the Aurora Bus Express. And what we're going to be doing here is having some folks from Seattle Transportation coming to the table to talk to us a little bit about Aurora Bus Express. We'll also have Faye Garneau from the Aurora Merchants Association. And here's what I'm going to propose for this particular item. The council was briefed on this item on Monday, yesterday. Please sit down. And what we heard at that point was a presentation from Seattle Transportation on what it is that they're proposing to do. The purpose of the meeting today is to allow Seattle Transportation to give us a little more detail on the things that are being proposed. And then we also wanted to hear comments from the Aurora Avenue Merchants Association on the proposal. So here's the schedule that I'm going to propose. We're going to try and do all this in a half hour. So since we did go through the presentation yesterday, I'd like to have a very quick, maybe 5-minute summary of the presentation from Seattle Transportation, then give the any further details that you were unable to give yesterday, maybe take another 5 minutes for that. And then I'd like to have the Aurora Merchants comment for 5 minutes on the proposal, and then we'll take 15 minutes for council member questions and responses. So we can keep on that schedule. I'd appreciate it very much. Let's start off with introductions.
I'm Jamae Hoffman, Mobility Manager with Seattle Department of Transportation.
Ellen Bevington, King County Metro.
Faye Garneau, Aurora Avenue Merchants Association Executive Director.
I'm Clarice Keegan, Chair of the Aurora Avenue Merchants Association Land Use and Transportation Committee.
Therese Casper, Seattle Department of Transportation, the project manager for the city on this project.
Susan Sanchez, Department of Transportation.
Does that schedule sound reasonable for everybody? Is that going to work?
5 minutes seems a little short for us, since you already had a pre-briefing yesterday that we didn't get to partake in. So, if we could maybe stretch it to 10.
Okay, well, we can try and
Try to keep it
under
we'll
10
try
if
to
possible.
keep it
That would be great. Okay. Okay.
In keeping of the, yesterday, as I mentioned, there were sort of 3 main topics that we wanted to make sure that we covered, so you got information on the 3 things that we've mainly heard council interest in. And one is the vision for the bus rapid transit project and what some of the first steps are. The second one is more about the parking conditions and the factors that we've considered in making these decisions. And the third is how we've been working with the community and our efforts to be responsive. And so since I know yesterday, the thing that we got through almost fully was the vision, maybe I'll just do a couple clarifications on things that I zoomed through since we didn't have time. And then spend more time on the things we didn't get to yesterday, which was more information on the parking and on the work we've been doing to be responsive.
Excellent.
The few things that I wanted to clarify, You may remember yesterday that we talked about some of the building blocks for bus rapid transit are having reliable service, and that could include everything from transit signal priority to having the buses come as frequently as every 6 minutes in the peak hour so that you're sure they're there, and reducing the variability. I mentioned that some of the transit signal prioritization that we've done to date has already reduced some of the variability up to 40% in some of those peak periods, so people having a more assuredness that the bus will be coming when they expect it to. I also mentioned about the attractive, well-lit boarding areas for safety and security that we've been working with the merchants to make sure they're well-designed. And also